Hello, everybody. I'm AJ Ganger, Indians Nation Station Director. Today, I'm sitting down with our athletic director, Chip Hare, a man who needs no introduction. We're going to be talking a little bit about some of our COVID-19 protocols and our sports seasons that are getting underway, because we are just days away, actually, from our contact sports starting with girls soccer over at Wirt Stadium. So, Chip, tell us a little bit about how the students have kind of reacted to all of this and how they've been planning for their seasons, not knowing if they were going to have one.
Well, first of all, AJ, it is a pleasure to be here, and it's nice to be on the other side of it. Usually I'm the one asking the questions, so it's been a while since I've been on this side of the table. But it is good to be here because there are a lot of things that have transpired here in the last few months. COVID has provided a lot of challenges in a lot of different ways for our lifestyle, just in living as human beings and how you and I interact with our world today. Throw in athletics, and that adds a whole nother dimension of it. The one thing that I think that's come out of this whole thing, pandemic, and is that there is a real drive and interest, not just in Piqua, but within the state of Ohio and our great country, that high school athletics is important.
Yes.
And there have been a lot of opinions out on social media and just in general about what they think, whether you should or whether you shouldn't be participating. So the one thing, and we've been back in it since May 27th, that Tuesday right after Memorial Day, we were starting our summer workouts, and we were in COVID protocol mode, so to speak. So we have been here all summer, and the kids have been great. Attendance has been up in all of our sports, fall, winter, and spring. But we've had to take the protocol tests of temperature checks every day, going through the protocol questions, the scratchy throat, the cough, etc. So we've been doing those every day, trying to make sure that we can have a season. So we're waiting all the way up until this week as to whether or not our contact sports, which is soccer and football, where we're going to go. Our non-contact sports are golf and tennis, and everyone seems to think that's a pretty easy one to figure out. The two that were seen to be the most controversial were volleyball and cross country, where they contact or non-contact, and there were lawsuits and all kinds of fun legal things that got that. They are all now non-contact. So they are going to start their seasons. Actually, golf and tennis have been going here for a couple of weeks here. Volleyball will start their season on Monday, as will cross country. But everyone wants to talk about football because obviously there's a lot more individuals that play football. But I think I'd be remiss if we didn't mention those other sports, because they have too been putting a lot of time and effort into it. And they have protocols that they have to follow just like everyone else. So we're glad that we can get this season going. And I know you asked me a question about how are the kids handling it. They've been great. Unsettling. I had a couple kids that asked last week, do you really think it's going to happen, Mr. Hare? And I really did think. I thought we were going to have this season. But I think for our kids, it was, we're just going to keep showing up until someone tells us not to. And now that we know we're going to have a season for those contact sports, there is a now nervous energy and anxiety of, we really get to do this, what's it going to look like? Because we haven't scrimmaged. There has been no off-season tournaments. There's been no 7-on-7s in football. We haven't had any competition outside of the Piqua inter-squad scrimmages than just ourselves.
And the season is going to look a little bit different. Obviously, football is going to be a 6-game season. Everyone makes the playoffs after that. But also here in our conference, we're just playing conference games. How did that come about?
It was not a football-driven decision. It was a decision made by the superintendents that they felt like, as a conference, that we wanted to do what we can do to control our environments, not just to control the spread, but control our bubbles.
Yeah.
As we were talking about earlier, we have kids coming in, and we controlled who was in our in practices and our workouts and our weight rooms, and we knew who was healthy and so on and so forth. And we, knock on wood, we had no COVID issues with any of our student athletes going into this fall season. This summer we've been pretty good. What we didn't know is going outside of our conference, what would that look like? So we're all similar schools that are fairly close. We have a couple schools that are 50 miles, as said, but we're all pretty much within a 20, 30 mile radius. And we felt that if we could just play each other, we could guarantee that our kids would get to play, number one, and number two, more importantly, they would stay safe, and we'd have to think outside the box a little bit, and we've had to make some sacrifices, but the coaches and the kids have been really good about that so far.
And the NVL isn't the only conference as well that's just playing conference games. I mean, the GWAC as well is doing that. I know some other schools are doing that as well. What's nice is I don't think we'd have to go more than 30 minutes away, if that, to play any kind of sport game right now.
Yeah, I think the farthest trip that any of our teams have to make is to Xenia, and that's 50 minutes. But in the grand scheme of things, not that bad. For high school athletics, and particularly football this year, the farthest trip is to Butler. So that's not a bad schedule. And so to the 10-game schedule, what they decided to do with the 10-game schedule is they reduced it from 10 to 6 to try to get the season in before Thanksgiving. When I say season, that would be crown a state champion before Thanksgiving, because apparently the models of what the governor's saying could get a little challenging thereafter. So we're trying to do everything we could to at least get a tournament season in for all 7 divisions in Ohio High School Athletic Association football. And
it kind of also seems like all the other sports, volleyball, soccer, they're playing each team twice, one at home and home season, one home, one away. Is that pretty much ideal, how you guys kind of came up with it? Let's just play everyone twice kind of thing?
It was. And a lot of people, in some sports, it's really unusual that you don't play anyone other than just one time, like in soccer. We have done things as a league that we agreed to that we normally wouldn't agree to. But for us, again, to have a season, to give ourselves a chance to have a season, we felt like that was something we needed to do. Another example of that in the football world, we decided to play Troy instead of week 10, bump them up to week 1. So, and then the whole schedule was revamped from there. So there's a lot of those kind of things that we decided we didn't do. Scrimmages. We as a conference decided we weren't going to do any scrimmages, again, to keep us safe and keep us from kind of in that bubble scenario, so to speak. So yeah, those are decisions that we made that we felt were right for not just our communities, but our league as a whole. And the MVL, again, this is a great example of share a lot of common denominators between communities. There may be some differences in terms of affluency or economics, but at the end of the day, our kids are very similar, and we come from communities that are similar size. And everybody looked out for one another in the league, which is pretty neat. People from Sydney weren't just looking out for the Jackets. They were trying to figure out how that was going to work for Tippecanoe or Piqua South, affectionately known as Troy, and of course Piqua. So it really did. We really were good comrades and family members to one another with that.
And it's a good thing the conference and everyone worked together to make this actually happen. And it's good to see that at the local level, at least, the conferences are working together, which is nice to see. Talk about Governor DeWine finally said we can have a season. He did put some guidelines on everything.
Right.
Talk a little bit about some of those guidelines as opposed to seating capacity at our stadiums, who can come in, who can't come in, and so on and so forth.
Seating capacity catches everyone's attention because they want to talk about that. That's the first and most important thing. But there are so many other things to that order. One of the things reason I had this on here was masks. There's a mask order, and I've mentioned this to our parents groups, and I'll continue to share this with our Indian Nation fans. We got a season, and we were very fortunate to have a season. So we are asking our parents, we're asking our community, we are asking people that support the Indians to please do what you're asked. Don't use this as a soapbox, either through social media or at games, events, to let people know how you feel about wearing masks, whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it. Because there are some people, AJ, that really believe that this pandemic is the worst thing that we have seen in 100 years. There's other people that think that this is just a scam because of a political year that we're electing a president of the United States. Whatever that you're at, our main focus and our goal is to get our kids on the court, on the field, whatever that sport may be, to compete and play. Let's not use us as a vehicle to get in the way of what they want to do. And so if they ask us to wear masks, just put your mask on and move forward. And there are going to be, and that is one of the things that they're going to have to do when you sit at a game, when you come to a game, you'll have to have a mask on. The other thing is social distancing. You'll find families will be able to sit together, but you're asked not to sit with friends and those kinds of things. So we are trying to provide the best safe environment, not just for our student athletes and coaches, but now for a community that comes in and gets to watch these games. And we're excited because we weren't sure whether or not that was going to happen. But social distancing will be a big part of it, but it'll also fall into our teams. You'll see that our soccer teams, our volleyball teams, they'll be wearing masks on the bench. Mm-hmm. Now, when they're playing, they won't be any of those kind of things. It won't be, but you're going to see that we're going to try to work on social distancing. Sometimes that's a challenge because kids they can't help it. They just want to jump on one another and hug one another and punch one another because that's what kids do. But we're trying to remind them, hey, those are things that we've got to do to ensure have a season. In volleyball, we typically have bench chairs out there. Well, they're going to probably stand for a lot of the volleyball game. If they want to sit down, they'll sit down on just the front row of the bleachers. Those things we're going to see a little bit differently. We're going to see a lot more stoppages of games for cleaning the ball. You'll see some things that we maybe cut out of traditional games and starting lineups and things, just again to move things along. Half times will be shorter. So those are a lot of those things that were in that order, that to try to keep people safe, to move the games along, but to moreover to ensure that kids have a good experience the best possible way we can.
And we also see our coaches wearing masks too. We've already seen that when we went around to each individual sport before they went and took their pictures and did the interviews with you. Everyone was wearing their masks, which is a good thing to see. I mean, especially people coming in and out of the stadium, you may be for the mask, you may be against the mask, but these kids worked really, really hard to have a season. It's really important to keep everyone safe, including the students. And it's not just them. I mean, we're getting ready to start school again. We're going to have kids coming in and out of the school every single day. We have to wear masks here at work, so everyone else might as well wear them. So that's just one of the things. Yeah. Another thing that we are actually really fortunate to have is this television station inside the high school.
Right.
We are able to broadcast volleyball, soccer, and football, the three easiest sports to broadcast a game. And we're also fortunate enough to do a live broadcast of them. Mm-hmm. The state of Ohio has allowed us to finally do a live broadcast of football on Friday night. Talk a little bit about that and how important that is to the community.
Well, I think we are very fortunate, like you said, to have the Indian Nation station right here at Piqua High School that impacts not just our district but also our community. There is a real support and outpour of support for our school district, our athletic department, and of course, the football program is something that's been a staple for many, many, many years. Back in the 1899 is when we got it rolling. So that's the oldest sport that's been here. So there's a lot of season ticket holders. There's a lot of people that necessarily don't buy season tickets, but they come to games every Friday night. That Friday night experience is going to be a little different than what we're used to. Some of the things of what you just mentioned. But the one thing that we want to help is our community. If they can't get into the game, they can at least see it on Indian Nation Station. Mm-hmm. They can at least see it on Spectrum, on a delayed cast. Mm-hmm. So we're very fortunate to have those things. And AJ, you do a great job of getting programming on for us and taking care of not just football, but soccer and volleyball and some of our other fall sports. So they get recognitions because these kids put a lot of time and effort into it, and our community wants to see them. So this is going to be one vehicle that they can do it.
And another thing talking about is the live aspect of it. We haven't been able to go live for football on Friday nights. We have been able to do basketball games. We've been able to do volleyball. Soccer is a little different because there's not internet access out there, but we're working on getting that out there. So just to be able to, the Ohio High School Athletic Association to be able to allow us to do this for this year. Hopefully they continue to allow school districts to broadcast their games
Yeah, it's
live.
really good at the OHSA to give us that green light because, like you said, there's that we haven't talked about the Piqua Troy game, but I heard a rumor that's one of the biggest rivalries in the state of Ohio.
Most played.
Most played for sure,
Yep.
and it'll be the 136th meeting. So there'll probably be some people lurking around the stadium trying to find a way if they can get into the game. But if they know they can watch it online, if they can watch it via YouTube or on their smart television in their house, I know people will take advantage of that. I do think you had asked me a question, I didn't duck it intentionally. You asked about seating capacity. What does those seating capacities look like? Well, everybody wants to talk about football. What does that one look like? Well, the governor's order said 15% or 1,500, and we are blessed with a beautiful facility.
Oh, yeah.
A large enough facility that we can have 1,500 people at our stadium.
Easily.
So that's what we're going to be allowed. So, and we'll have 1,500 and still be able to be socially distanced and people be around. So our game plan is this. We are intending to get the parents of football players, our marching band, and our cheerleaders, everyone that have the opportunity in their families to have 6 tickets.
Okay.
Some families are blended, so you have a couple moms and dads, you have grandparents. We want to do everything we can to get as much of our kids' families in that stadium as we possibly can. We also have season ticket holders. They will have the opportunity to get into the game, and then we have to give a percentage of that to the visiting team. So all that will add up to about 1,500. The process for football will be very important that people follow. Our parents will have through Tuesday of the home game. So this coming week, they'll have Monday and Tuesday to pick up their tickets, their vouchers, and then they will then go on to the community of what's not used. So we really encourage our parents to get those tickets before they're open up to the public. My guess is every game will probably be sold out, so we probably will not have tickets to sell at the game.
How will you guys be policing the mask order when it comes to people entering and exiting the gate? How is that one thing that we are going to be doing?
We've been asked to do that, and we're going to do it respectfully. We're going to do it appropriately. And when I say that, we know that there are some people that have strong feelings about it. That's why we say, as I said to you earlier, please just put your mask on and move on. Our reminder is that we're not doing it because we're trying to exude power amongst ourselves or that we're trying to put our political beliefs out. We're really just trying to protect our kids. So we will do what we can. We'll have signage throughout the stadium that reminds people about their face coverings, but also social distancing and keeping respect to that. And we had a scrimmage last night, just inter-squad scrimmage with soccer, actually the last 2 nights with our boys and our girls team. And without even having to tell anybody, people sat on their own. So people are pretty good about that. The masks things are different for some people. They have some
people have medical issues that
yes,
that can't,
and if you
can't
have a medical issue, you'll be exempt from that. Yeah. So, but as far as soccer stadium, again, that's our old football stadium. We can seat about 4,000 to 5,000 people in that facility. So we're going to have enough room to get people. We're saying 6 tickets, but we know that there are some circumstances where you might have a grandparent that comes out of town. We're going to do what we can to accommodate, but we do need to follow those procedures, everything that we can within those guidelines. Visitors that are coming in, we're allowing them 4 tickets for football, for soccer. Volleyball, very similar. Everyone gets. We're going to allow people 6 tickets to get in there. That should allow people enough for their families to get in and see that. The disappointment for me is the student sections. students love to come to watch their friends. They love to get excited and throw some energy out there, whether it's a football game or volleyball game or even soccer. So that's a disappointment. We're not going to be able to have that. But all that being said, we are trying to do everything. Again, we agree to do things that we typically wouldn't do just to ensure that our kids have a season. So capacities are important. You will be able to get your tickets for soccer and volleyball and middle school athletics at the door.
Okay.
Anything for pre-sale tickets, the only thing we're going to be pre-selling tickets on would be varsity football, and you can get that here at the high school.
Is there anything else you'd like to add, Chip, before we get off here and you get back to your busy day?
Well, I would say, first of all, AJ, thanks for everything you guys do for us. You're going to be you've always been an important vehicle. You're going to be even more important vehicle now that people may not be able to get into the stadium. For our Indian Nation, we thank you for your support of what you're giving our student athletes, Piqua City Schools, and the athletic department. We have felt it throughout the summer, and we're grateful for it. It's been a very strange time, AJ.
Yeah.
It's been unlike any other school year. You typically know, okay, this is June, this is what we should be doing. July, this is what we should be doing. As we get into August, we know practice starts and we're ready to go. It's been unprecedented that we've ever been sitting a week before the season that are we going to play or aren't we going to play? So we're in a little bit of rush mode where we're kind of on turbo mode at this point and trying to get our season tickets out and make sure that all of our athletes and even tennis and golf who've already been playing are continuing to get what they need to get. But schedules are fluid, so that is the word of the month. Things are fluid, so if anything should happen in terms of any COVID outbreaks within our league, we will change those schedules accordingly.
And all the schedules are online at piqua.org. If you go up to the departments page and click on the athletics, you can pick any sport you want. They are correct online. Everything's up to date. And I believe they're starting to put them on the MVL website as well.
Yeah, they are slowly getting there. I think by the end of next week, you'll see a full schedule on the MVL website. And we just look forward to the opportunity to get kids out and playing, engage again.
Schedules are also on the Indian Nation Station Facebook page. You can go there and check it out. You can also check out our broadcast schedules. They're on there as well to tell you which games we'll actually be broadcasting on our YouTube page and delayed on Channel 5 as well. Be on the lookout for all the live links for all the games. They're going to be posted just seconds after we go on the air on the Indian Nation Station's YouTube page. So be on the lookout for that. Our first one Monday night as the Butler Aviators go to Wirtz to take on our Lady Indian soccer team. So it's going to be exciting. Chip, thank you for taking the time today.
AJ, it's a pleasure to be here. And remember those three magical words. We are Piqua.